Showtime.
When my doctor told me I had high cholesterol, I knew I had to make some changes. I started watching my diet if I wanted to be around to see my kids grow up. And because I have to be there for them, I know I have to face facts. I'm going to shoulder a huge financial burden as I watch my kids grow up in a confusing world of drugs and sexual predators. They used to scare the crap out of me until I added Morning Jack to my breakfast routine. Morning Jack. The new milk-based breakfast bourbon is the strongest non-prescription anti-anxiety medication available. It turns breakfast time into happy hour. And it sure improves the taste of this high-fiber crap.
Daddy, I want to be an artist when I grow up.
That's great, honey. Art school. What's that gonna run me? Yeah, I gotta sweat out a mortgage, food, clothes. Who knows where the money's coming from? But I'll deal with it, thanks to the special numbing agents found in Morning Jack. I can feel them working now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show. Our guest tonight spent years working in a very successful corporate career, but he wasn't fulfilled. He took a leap of faith and became a screenwriter and director, and he has never looked back. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, writer, director, and pursuer of purpose, Roger Aylward. Roger, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's our pleasure.
Yes, Roger, we are definitely glad to have you on the show. And I'm going to jump right in with something here because there's a couple things that you and I have in common that I wanted to touch on right up front. We both spent a lot of time, many years in the corporate world, and we both made a move, made a leap of faith, and one where the odds were kind of stacked against us, and generally involved a bit of a cut in pay, but
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more than just a bit. But there were also some quotes that inspired me, and I know that there were a couple that inspired you in this process. So talk with us about those quotes that inspired you and what it was that gave you the strength and the wherewithal to ultimately make the move that you made.
Well, one of the quotes I had, a friend of mine told me, it was jump and find your wings on the way down, which was, I thought, great. That idea of what the pressure will make you more creative than you would be. And without that pressure, you might not actually do it. You're kind of in a comfort zone. You're in the corporate hammock, and it's easy to doze off and wonder what happened. And as I thought more and more about leaving my job, I was watching Anthony Hopkins on Inside the Actor's Studio, and he closed the show trying to encourage the students in the audience and to commit to their careers. And he said, geez, I just got some chills. That he said, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And just in that moment, that weird little cliche moment, I thought, the guy's like looking right at me, telling me what to do. And so it was things like that that kind of felt like I was being nudged in a direction. But part of what gave me the courage is that I had been working as a writer. I had gone to school with English and writing, and I had been writing my whole career as a newspaper guy and as a creative director, and in marketing, I was a speech writer. So I had been writing, that muscle was working and it was trained. And then I was also working on a script with a friend of mine, and we got to a point where we showed it to some people and we were encouraged by what we got back from them. As far as, really, this is your first screenplay. This is, it's not perfect. No one's going to buy it, but wow, this is your first one. And I think that, as far as having a positive attitude, that gave us a positive attitude to go forward. And I wound up just doing it by myself. But you kind of create your own positive attitude through the work and through feeling like, I'm not just jumping in with nothing to keep me afloat here. I think maybe I can do this.
It does sound, Roger, like even though it wasn't in that particular arena or the arts, so to speak, you were kind of preparing for this for a very long time. And like you said, the muscles were strong and ready when you decided to make the move. What was it like those first few years as a screenwriter? And how did it feel when you sold that first script?
Yeah, the first, it was kind of crazy. Like the first morning, Bill, you probably identify with this, that first Monday morning where you don't go to work and you start thinking, I better start pedaling here or this isn't going to happen. And so there really was kind of a frantic effort to just write and rewrite. And this was my shot. I felt like I was going to give myself some time to do this, and I'm not going to waste it. This was a risk. Part of what I thought, though, was, what job am I leaving that I can't have back if I want it back? And I definitely don't want it back. And I certainly don't want to go back to work with my tail between my legs, with everybody going, I had quit my job and they were convinced I was going to a competitor. And they basically locked me out of all my files and wouldn't let me do anything. I gave them a month's notice and they let me stay there for a month and do nothing because they were afraid to give me access to anything. And I just didn't want to tell them what my crazy dream is. But when I said I'm just going to work for myself, they wouldn't believe it. So it was, but then, I worked hard and things happened pretty quickly all of a sudden. I won a major screenwriting award at Slam Dance, and all of a sudden I was getting phone calls of people wanting to see my scripts and represent me, and so that was really encouraging. Then I got.
Well, they're the mighty forces that appeared.
All of a sudden, there were the mighty forces. Exactly. People, I was taking meetings, and then I was actually didn't sell a script before I was hired to write one. And I started just pushing myself to write that one and get it right. And it was like supposed to be a play, and it turned out to, they got the financing to make it into a movie before it could even be put up.
Roger, where in this process, and it may have been the story that you just mentioned, but along the way, you wrote a story that was made into a movie, and it was called Silent Night, and it is a very unique Christmas movie that's been named by Newsweek and other sources as one of the top 25 Christmas movies of all time, which is pretty darn impressive. So tell us a little bit about the story and what it was like seeing that story that you had written on film become a movie.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I got, all of a sudden things started happening quickly. I got hired to write the script and I wrote it, and it got gobbled up. And I had to go through a couple of rewrites because they brought a producer and a director on board. And they wanted some changes made. So I was lucky enough to be the rewrite guy as well. They wanted me to do the rewrites. So I had to rewrite it a couple of different times, a couple of different ways before they settled on the way they wanted it. And then it was rushed into production because they actually wanted it to come out as a Christmas movie. And I think it was May or June or something, and they wanted to get it filmed. They brought Linda Hamilton on board. She had some nice things to say about the script. And then the next thing I know, there's the movie's out. And it was really a thrill to, I remember sitting in a Starbucks 7 or 8 months earlier, writing dialogue and then seeing it being said on the screen. was pretty crazy. It was, I just, they of course then the director made a few changes as well, but it was just to hear, oh my God, that is verbatim what I wrote.
Well, Roger, congratulations on that, first of all, because that is really quite something to be proud of. Not every screenwriter can say that. So that's
No, you realize you're kind of an elite company. Yeah.
it really is. It's a
Yeah,
small
man, not
club.
putting myself up there with anybody, but when you consider all the people who have that idea and think that's what they want to do, and how many actually get there, to have one thing done. It's like in music, being a one-hit wonder or something is really kind of a compliment anyway, because you had a hit. How many bands out there wish they had one hit?
Definitely. And what year did that movie come out?
2002, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay. So Linda Hamilton was still, like a very recognizable, well-known star. I mean, she had the Terminator movies, and so
Yeah.
I'm sure that, that was a big coup.
As I understood it, she had turned down Terminator 3 or whatever because she thought the script was terrible. That was what I had heard, and she wanted to do different things. And it's pretty amazing that she wanted to do something like this, that she wanted to get out of that character and do some other kind of drama, and chose this. I think that's great.
Bill has a sheepish smile on his face because that's one of his big crushes and female heroines that he loves.
She's a terrific actor, and that was a great character. That was
so yeah, we have to watch this show. I can't wait to see it. But I just want to kind of backtrack a little bit, because you were the writer on this piece, but you weren't the captain of the ship, so to speak, for the whole
Right.
product. You kind of, like you said, had to do rewrites that they gave to you.
Sure.
But at some point you decided kind of, I have my own projects and I want to be kind of in the helm. So what did you do to prepare to direct and write and film your own projects?
What I did was basically, I had been on a couple of sets, but I just started volunteering to be on other pieces. Actually, I wrote some scripts for Microsoft for a web series they wanted. So I created a web series for them, and they hired a really good young director to do it. And I was able to be on the side, wanted to be there. They wonder, why do you want to be here? You wrote the scripts, you cashed your check. What are you doing here? And I wanted to watch him work. And he was very inclusive. And he just, I learned a lot watching Dave. And it was, but that also made me want to do it. Like, they had asked me if I wanted to direct it, and I said, no, I don't know what I'm doing. And they were putting some money behind this little series. And so I'm not going to put myself in that position. And I watched him work, and I saw what he did. And I realized that in the future, when that opportunity came along, I wanted to be prepared for it, if it ever did. So I just I learned from him. That I got involved with a crew of actors and comics that were called Stuff Films, that were putting out some of their own comedic videos. I did some writing for them and was there for everything they were doing. And that was an education as well. But the more you're around it, the more you're watching, the more you the mystery goes away about what they're doing. That you realize it really is just thinking about what you want to show and how you want to get from one shot to another and how to cover yourself. And and then I just felt like I wanted to try something myself. And I called in some favors of all the people I was helping and asked them to help me get something off the ground. And they did.
How important is writing to the overall success of a project, whether it's a play, a film, whatever it is? And is there any one component or aspect that's most important?
Well, it's like a weird answer, because in a way it's got to be the most important thing, because without that, you've got nothing going on. But then at the same point, I think that when you work and make your own stuff, you have the writing and the directing and the editing and the sound and the music and everything that goes into it, the actors, that if you take one of those away, if one of those is flawed, you suddenly realize how important it is. So if you're watching something and the sound is terrible, you start realizing how important sound is. If the actors look good and the cinematographer is doing his job, but the dialogue is terrible, you suddenly realize that's what the flaw is. So in a way, I think it's the most important, and in a way, I think everything is the most important. It's kind of like when you have if you go out and buy a new suit, all of a sudden your shoes look terrible, and you realize you got to get new shoes. So it's one of those things. I don't think you can start deciding which one is. I mean, you could write a terrific script, and if they put terrible actors in it, then it is going to be terrible. And it doesn't matter. You can't write yourself out of that.
Roger, I'm wondering, as a writer, because now you're writing and directing and producing, is it hard to hand over your script? Like, do you want to direct the things that you write for that reason, because it is important to you? Or are you able to distance yourself and put the baby in someone else's arms?
I think I'm fine with it. I understand the business and I understand where I am. I mean, I'm doing short films and web series, and I just ad parodies, and I get a kick out of it, and I enjoy working with the people that I work with.
Honey, are you home?
In here.
Hey, how'd it go with the carpenter? Honey?
Good. I think.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
What if he's really...
Really?
Well, he seems to know what he's doing.
I want to see an estimate.
On the one hand, as I try to gear myself up to think, well, maybe I could do more, the idea of understanding that if there's some big budget to do one of my scripts, that they're not going to let me do it. And I don't think they should in a way, because I could have a hand up, but you need somebody when you start putting 20, 30, 40, $50 million on the table, you can't have a guy who's directed a few short films do it. I'm sure M. Night Shyamalan or whoever's directed the first time film would disagree, but I think I've learned enough to know what I don't know, and that it would be that I might be doing my script a disservice at this point by not being as talented as someone who's been doing that for 20 or 30 years, any more than somebody deciding they're going to write, who's only written 3-4 page scripts, deciding they're going to write an entire screenplay and think they're going to get it right out of the chute.
And sometimes it happens, but it's not likely.
Yeah, it's
Now,
the exception.
You have also adapted other people's writing.
Right.
And on that note, we are talking about a guest that we just had on the show, who is a comedian, a friend, and of all of us, Mick Difflow.
Right.
So where did you come up with this concept for a show based on his comedy?
Well, it was a weird thing. I mean, part of it was like the idea of just doing it came before any concept came up. I just felt like Mick had a great presence on stage, and his jokes were great. And I know he likes to act as well, or would want to act. And he really wasn't getting cast in anything. And he had a reel that was really just, it's some good stuff on there, but not enough. That was really well produced, and I just felt like if we just took his character and put it into everyday scenarios, and then you incorporated his jokes into the scenarios, the little of the concept is just almost like American Splendor or something. Take this guy and put him in these situations, and that kind of curmudgeon type guy, He's obviously has a dark sense of humor. He's very sarcastic, and find a way to take his concepts and put them into an everyday scenario. And it kind of got, from that point, it's like we did a couple and they were kind of funny, but they were vignettes. And then we tried to kind of put a narrative behind it, you know, that he's in therapy and he works at Suicide Hotline.
What?
It's critical we answer as soon as possible.
Suicide hotline.
I just can't take it anymore. My life is meaningless. I don't have a job. I don't have any friends. So, I'm just gonna end it. Right now. Hello? Is anybody there?
Yeah, what's your name, buddy?
Jeremy?
Let me ask you something, Jeremy. Is this just a cry for help?
What?
Yeah, I want to get that out of the way because, most times these calls are cries for help.
What? No, I mean it. I'm gonna do it.
All right. And how are you going to do it?
Well, I've got a bunch of pills here, and
Yeah, cry for help.
No, I'm serious.
What can I say? I just don't believe you.
Well, I've got a bottle of vodka.
Yeah, the whole pills and vodka thing, it's just a cry for help. I mean, you got a pretty good chance of surviving this.
Is there anyone else I could talk to?
Believe me, I'd love to hand you off, but we're short-handed today. One of our guys tried to kill himself yesterday.
Oh my God. Why?
I don't know. He spends his days listening to people tell him how hopeless everything is. He got depressed. Guess he thought he had no one to talk to. Ironic, huh?
All of the Ray Romano, Jerry Seinfeld types have gotten, there's Tim Allen. Those shows come right out of their stand-up. They have an on-stage Roseanne that they just took that person on the stage and they said, let's build something around it. And that's what I was trying to do with Mick, is to have the essence of his comedy, his character, and give him something that you realize that that's Mick's wheelhouse. He could be that guy. And there's a lot of movies you'd watch and you go, Mick could do that. Mick could do that tomorrow if he had proof that he could do that. And that's what I hope we've given him.
Well, they were very well shot, very well done. I think, and congratulations on the success you've already had on the film festival circuit.
Yeah, we did pretty well. It's Mike Majilnik was the GP on that, and that was great because technically I don't know much of anything. I know the shot I want, I know the angle I want, but Mike's great because he can. He understands what I'm saying and what I want to see, and then he creates it. So we have a conversation about, the idea they're sitting in a bar and it may be light outside, but it's still dark inside. And these are the kind of people who are in a bar at 3 p.m. and life's not going great if you're in a bar at 3 p.m. So that's what, when he created that mood, and that's what was great. So he gets the credit for that.
And it worked.
Roger, there's something else that you do and you do very well. And you actually touched on it just a few moments ago when you talked about ad parodies. And I have to admit, I've seen a few in my day, but I've seen a few of yours and they are, well, I'll tell you what, rather than me talking about it, folks, we're going to share with you one of those ad parodies right now.
There seems to be so much going on in the world.
What are we going to do about climate change?
The economy, jobs, global markets.
That thing in the Middle East ain't getting any better.
How will things affect me, my family?
There's so much at stake.
Everything felt so out of control.
There must be something I can do.
But what?
What?
What can I do?
And then my doctor said, "Have you tried worrying?"
Worrying.
Worrying?
Worrying.
Worrying.
Seriously, worrying?
Yes, worrying. Worrying is the anxiety accelerant that's easy to use and available without a prescription.
I never knew worrying was an option.
Now that I'm worrying, it's almost like I'm doing something.
I find I can worry almost anywhere.
The nice thing about worrying is that we can do it together.
Ask your doctor if worrying is right for you.
I should have started worrying a long time ago. Oh my God, I should have. Shouldn't I have?
Side effects of worrying may include ulcers, hair loss, insomnia, excessive drinking, paranoia, gross fingernails, depression, weight loss, vomiting, diarrhea, night terrors, panic, and all-out full-blown fear. Worrying may be habit-forming. If worrying lasts for more than 4 hours, start worrying. Worrying. It's almost like you're doing something.
Roger, I'll tell you, you killed me on that. When I watched that, because it's so serious and you're really drawn into it, and then you get into the worry, and I was just laughing my head off. I think it was brilliant.
Oh, thanks. That was like a fun effort to do that. We really, it shows everybody involved in that, including myself at the time, was like a total amateur. But the actors in it really conveyed what we needed to do. It was Carrie Lacey and Paige. They did a great job. Even Billy Brannigan, with the expressions on his face, it was just, he was funny because he auditioned for it and he goes, "I don't have any lines. How am I supposed to audition for this?" And I said, 60% of the commercial work that you can get hired for doesn't have any lines, and you're going to have to learn it. And he did a great job.
Well, one thing though, I want to just follow up on that though, Roger, because I agree, it was brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and it really, like Rose, it pulled you in, and then bam, you get hit with that curveball. But where is the audience, like for something like that to get out? Like, what is the format or the distribution or the audience that you can get that out to see?
Well, it used to be Funny or Die. That did very well on Funny or Die. I think it was like 90% funny or something like that. And it was, they moved it right up and featured it on the front page. We got the same response with one of the episodes of Mick. And that basically I got an email from them asking if we could do this, and asked to send any other work whenever I completed anything to send it along. But unfortunately, they changed their format, and they are really just, I think, hiring people to do stuff. And they've made it very, I think they've got their little cadre of people that they're going to use. And they really kind of cut off a stream of people who are looking to post their stuff. You post something on YouTube and you're up there with every cat video and influencer and everything out there. This was a comedy site that people could produce something and put it on there. And it was really a sink or swim site. It was started by Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, and for that purpose. And it's a shame it doesn't do that anymore. If you didn't get 50% thumbs up, they took you off the site. They gave you a little time to find your audience, and if it was there, you got moved up, and if it wasn't, they said, "Stop wasting our time." And it's a shame that they don't have that anymore. I hope something comes and takes its place.
Well, Roger, I'll tell you, there's so much more we want to talk to you about, because you've also parlayed your wicked sense of humor into your own stand-up, which is pretty brave, because that's a whole other animal. But, we don't have enough time to kind of get into all of that. But we want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing everything with us, because it's really been eye-opening, quite honestly. And we wish you all the best.
Well, thank you. I just got an expensive hobby at this point, but I'm having a good time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have a lot of respect for you, Roger, for making the move that you made just as we kicked off the show. We both made that leap, and I think we both made the right move. And a lot of times, Roger, when we have musical guests, we'll close out the show with a song. But as Rosie said, because of your stand-up, what we thought we would do this week in honor of you is we would close out the show with a little clip of you doing what you do behind the mic when you write those jokes for yourself. So folks, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
I was a big Star Trek guy, and I liked the last movie, but I was a little apprehensive about the idea of new actors playing the sci-fi icons of my youth. When I was a kid, I thought I was James T. Kirk, the rough and tumble starship captain. And when I was in high school, I was the logical and emotionally inaccessible Mr. Spock. And then in college, I kind of had a George Takei phase that is quite a while ago. I don't want to talk about it. We're moving on. I got out of college. I got my first job, and I realized I was a lot more like Scotty. I drank too much, and whenever my boss wanted me to do something, I told him it was going to take 2 or 3 days longer than he needed it. And when he objected, I would try to explain that I couldn't change the laws of physics. And I got to tell you, that type of attitude doesn't fly at Arby's. It just doesn't work. So now I'm a little older. I'm a lot more like Dr. McCoy. My wife asks me to do something, and I snap at her and say, you know, damn it, I'm a comic, I'm not a revenue stream.